Welcome to our latest video that explores the top 10 times animals got revenge. It's no secret that animals can be incredibly intelligent and resourceful, and sometimes they're not afraid to take matters into their own paws, hooves, or claws. From cunning escapes to unexpected attacks, these animals prove that they're not to be underestimated. So sit back, relax, and get ready to witness some of the most impressive animal revenge stories ever caught on camera. Number 1. Dog Eat Car World. Dogs are man's best friend, but that's really predicated on man being nice to the dog first. This was proven for a man in Chongqing, China, who felt the full force of canine drama. After finding a stray dog chilling in his usual parking spot, he sent it on its way with a swift kick and parked up as usual. But when he returned to his car the next morning, he found it in a dire state covered in little dents and marks. It appeared vandals had targeted his vehicle overnight. But unruly neighborhood kids weren't the source of the trouble. Indeed, the man's neighbor had captured a very different story on camera. A pack of stray dogs had shown up that night and attacked the car. They left deep dents and bite marks all over the car, giving the wheel arches and windscreen wipers a particularly good seeing to. Whether odd coincidence or coordinated attack, karma really is a female dog. Number 2. Drunk Monkey Revenge. In India, there's a monkey named Kalua who has been imprisoned for his entire life. That's right. This monkey actually got a full lifetime prison sentence. He's been locked up in a camp or zoo following a wild rampage in which he got wasted on stolen booze and attacked at least 250 people. According to the New York Post, zookeepers at the park were hoping to assimilate the monkey into their little monkey society. However, now he's been deemed too dangerous to live among his own kind, and he certainly can't be out in the wild getting drunk and attacking people. Based on local reports, the monkey had originally belonged to some occultist hermit who fed Kalua a steady diet of hard liquor and meat harvested from other monkeys. The occultist basically turned the creature into an alcoholic cannibal. The occultist was found dead, and the neglected monkey took out his anger and frustration on the neighborhood people, swinging from building to building, breaking into people's houses, and clawing women and children in the face. The rampage went on for quite some time before Kalua was eventually captured by animal trappers and delivered to the zoo. According to the zoo director, there's been absolutely no change in his behavior, and he remains highly aggressive to the outside world. 3 years after the monkey's brutal rampage, the zookeepers have all but given up on it. He'll be kept in solitary confinement for the rest of his life. It's extremely sad because it's not the monkey's fault he was raised that way, but it's just the way things turn out. Number 3. Cecil's Revenge. In 2015, an American dentist named Walter Palmer paid $50,000 to a local ranger in Zimbabwe to lure Cecil the lion out of his nature park. Palmer then shot and killed the lion using a bow and arrow. He killed the most majestic cat on the planet and made things extremely difficult for himself. We don't need to talk about how disgusting Walter Palmer is or why killing lions is bad. We all know why. What we can say is that Cecil the lion, even in death, got her revenge in the form of karma. Walter Palmer quickly became the most hated man in America. This is what the internet did to Walter Palmer after he killed the lion. First, they published his phone number. Secondly, they discovered the address of his dental practice and posted it online. His business page on Facebook was absolutely ruined. Thousands of people called him a scumbag to the point where the page had to be deleted. His Yelp account was also totally ruined. In the end, Walter Palmer didn't lose his practice, and he continued to be a dentist, but he has to live the rest of his life as one of the most unanimously hated people in American history. And yes, he's probably lost a significant amount of business. Number 4. Elephant. What I have for you today is a story that I think is rather hard to believe. But according to various news articles, it's true. Apparently, there was a 70-year-old woman in East India who was collecting water in the village of Rapal when an escaped elephant unleashed its anger on her. The huge creature stomped on her and she was rushed to a hospital but died from her catastrophic injuries. However, what is really strange is that in a cruel twist, the raging elephant returned and pulled her body off from on top of her funeral pyre. It once again trampled her body, threw her around and ravaged her corpse before leaving the scene. The elephant is understood to have escaped from the Delma Wildlife Sanctuary, 124 miles from where the brutal attack happened. According to local reports, the beast returned to the lady's funeral and everyone was then forced to finish the ceremony after the elephant walked off. This whole event took place after an elephant went off on a rampage at a wedding after it got spooked by firecrackers. Shocking footage showed the massive elephant flipping cars and trashing the venue after it got startled by the noise. But what do you guys think about this story? Doesn't it seem just so unusual? Now, to its credit, elephants are very smart creatures, and they're known to pick up on intricate details that humans can give off, facial expressions, and all sorts of things. So there's something about what it saw, apparently in this lady, that triggered it to not only stomp her out, but somehow return during her funeral ceremony and stomp out her corpse some more. This is a very unusual act. Number 5. The Crocodile and the Backpacker. A crocodile in Australia got some very satisfying revenge after frightening a young backpacker who got the idea that it would be totally fun to bully and mock the marine reptile. The tourist spotted the crocodile from his fishing boat and wanted to get some pictures with it. Well, saltwater crocs are not the most photogenic things on the planet and aren't really into photo shoots. This particular beast was about 16 feet. The tourist teased and pointed at it while someone else snapped photos. This didn't make the crocodile very happy, and when it got close enough to the tourist, it tried to jump into his boat and bite his limbs off. The Israeli backpacker reacted quickly enough to escape the jaws of the crocodile, but he was left severely shaken. He was quoted later as saying, "I didn't realize crocs were so aggressive." But really, who in their right mind doesn't instinctively know that a giant green lizard isn't aggressive? It's like reaching out and trying to touch a rattlesnake, not realizing that, it's a deadly snake. In the end, the tourist went about the rest of his fishing trip with both eyes open from a rotting crocodile. Number 6. Rabbit fox attack. A wild fox in Rochester Mills finally had enough. It was tired of being treated like a pesky raccoon and decided one morning it was going to strike back against the rude people in the neighborhood who weren't paying him any respect. It was about 10:30 in the morning when the fox strolled into the yard of Sylvia Work as she was weeding her flower bed. When Sylvia went to wash her hands, the fox was there ready to strike. It began running straight for her, hell-bent on tearing the old lady to shreds. Sylvia screamed for help, but nobody came. The fox had almost completed its planned vengeance. It was biting her in the leg, puncturing her skin with its tiny teeth, and cutting apart her hands as it scratched and scratched. Thankfully, her 14-year-old neighbor rushed to her rescue. He had heard the woman screaming from next door and came to see what the fuss was about. The teenage neighbor grabbed hold of the fox while another neighbor ran to their house to get a dog kennel. After the terrifying ordeal, the fox was handed over to the Pennsylvania Game Commission, and Sylvia had to be taken to the hospital for treatment. She just better hope the fox is never let loose again, or it'll probably go back to finish the job. Number 7. The Living Dead. Animal vengeance only happens when you're illegally hunting exotic animals, right? Wrong. Animals have a taste for revenge all over the globe. Randy Goodman, a hunter in Missouri, learned this the hard way when he landed 2 shots on a buck from a .270 caliber rifle. He assumed the buck was dead and approached. He was proven wrong when it leapt up and attacked him with its antlers. He ended up in the hospital and had to get 7 staples in his head. Maybe the doctor should have stapled some hunting safety rules to his shooting hand while they were at it. A similar incident occurred in Spain in 2015. After shooting a wild boar, a hunter approached what he assumed to be a pig on death's door alongside his hunting dogs. Instead of an easy haul of fresh bacon, he got a fresh pair of tusks stabbed into his leg by a very much still living boar. The tables turned completely and the man was dead by the time officials found him later that day. Number 8. Plague of crows. Just when citizens of Rome thought it was safe to come out of their houses following the worst of the coronavirus pandemic, the crows decided to get some revenge. It's not clear what exactly sparked the plague of crows that descended on Rome in 2021, but according to the New York Times, they were out of control. Locals were forced to shield themselves with umbrellas. People pulled jackets over their heads, and some brandished wooden sticks to beat the crows away. The angry birds were swooping from the rooftops, grabbing women by their hair, scratching people with their talent, and pecking at them with their beaks. Believe it or not, Rome is almost always under constant siege by angry birds. Every year, the exploding crow population takes their anger out on annoying humans. And when that's all said and done, predatory seagulls descend upon the city and drop bird poop on everyone's heads. It's actually become something of a war as local residents beg the government to get rid of the crows and to stop the birds from settling in Rome. This only makes the birds angrier, and the crow attacks get more vicious each and every year. The reason crows love living in Rome is that there is so much trash, garbage, and mice for them to eat. The humans are simply in their way. Number 9. Bringing home dinner. In 2011, an Indonesian man returned from a vacation to a rather unwelcome surprise. Through malice or irresponsible, he left his 7 dogs locked in the house without observation or food for 2 weeks. As you'll see, their reaction to his return was far from welcome. A few days after he'd returned, a neighbor became suspicious when he caught whiff of a horrible smell coming from his house. He called the police, who investigated and discovered the man's dead body in one room and his skull in another. The prime suspects were his dogs, believed to have eaten him, driven by starvation. The bones of a few other dogs were also found inside, presumably also eaten by the hungry pack. Number 10. Pig escape. The love of a mother pig for her piglets knows no bounds. A mother pig recently got some pretty sweet revenge on a farmer after she made a daring escape. It happened when the pig, whose name is Matilda, escaped from a farm in the United Kingdom. She was pregnant and didn't want to give birth on the farm where she knew her babies would eventually be slaughtered and probably eaten. So she managed to escape the farm and find a safe place to give birth in a nearby forest. She was then spotted by a dog walker who got a hold of the Brinsley Animal Rescue. The animal conservationists aren't allowed to just steal the pig and her piglets, as they did technically belong to the farmer. But what they did do was start a huge campaign to have the pigs and the piglets brought to a home where they could live the rest of their lives in peace and happiness. The campaign was a failure. The farmer figured out where the pigs were and he went and took them back to the farm. But Matilda's revenge wasn't over just yet. At this point, her story was national news. There was a huge protest after the public found out that the farmer had taken the pig and her piglets back, and facing immense pressure, he finally relinquished the family of pigs. Matilda won the battle and earned a full life for her and her babies, and the farmer was thoroughly annoyed and humiliated. He also lost whatever money he would have made by slaughtering the pig's family. And that's a wrap on our top 10 times animals got revenge. We hope you enjoyed this video and were amazed by the sheer ingenuity and determination of these creatures. It's clear that animals are capable of much more than we give them credit for, and we can all learn a thing or two from their resilience and adaptability. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating videos like this one, and let us know in the comments which animal revenge story impressed you the most.